authentic TV program in Spanish class. Why? First of all, it is engaging, authentic cultural input for your students, for them to be able to hear native speakers of the language and in a context that makes it enjoyable in a story that is most likely continuous. Over the years, I've used quite a few different television programs in class, starting with El Internado Laguna Negra from Spain. I've also used Go Vive a Tu Manera from Argentina, and as well as Street Food Latin America, which is more of a docuseries that's on Netflix. Some other great options that have come up more recently, if you teach elementary students, Maya y los Tres, and as well as a newer show, Tierra Incógnita, which is an authentic show from Argentina. I have more resources about all of these and I'll include links. Here I just want to talk more about why you would use them and kind of how to use them in class. So I mentioned kind of the why, but also some ways that you would use these. You could spend time introducing the characters with comprehensible slideshows, introducing character traits, ages. This is a nice way, even if you have to cover certain things, you could do this kind of in a different way. I found the most enjoyable way to watch a show is to have it as, for example, like on Fridays, you watch your show and you use your normal curriculum Monday through Thursdays. I know some other people who enjoy doing their shows on Mondays as kind of a way to ease into the week, but whatever way kind of works for you. When I was on a block schedule, in between each unit, we would stop and do an entire block period with the show. And at that time, I was using the Street Food. That each one is a different little documentary. So besides introducing the characters, also you could introduce kind of what's going to happen in comprehensible Spanish, and then start watching a clip. And this is where I think a lot of people struggle, is they might just press play and play an entire episode, which depending on the level of student, this is most likely way too difficult for them. And then they will kind of check out and it's too hard. So really breaking it down and maybe only doing 10 minutes of the show at a time, where you pre-teach some of the vocabulary, the characters, the things that are going to happen, watching, but also just paying attention to the students. You might pause earlier and clarify. They might have a question. It's okay to go really slow. When I first started using El Internado, I had a 40-minute class period, and so it took us, we would only went through about 10 minutes or so the first time, and then another 10 or 15 minutes. It could take multiple weeks to get through an entire episode. And that's okay, because if the goal is for your students to acquire the language, you do need to break it down, pause, so then discuss what has happened before you just move on or just play it. Something else that goes along with that is deciding, depending on the level of your students, what level of subtitles you're going to use. The earliest I have used an authentic show is second semester of Spanish 2. And with those students, I used English subtitles to go with the show, because otherwise it was just too far beyond them. With my upper level students, I have used Spanish subtitles, obviously with the Spanish audio, but I think the biggest thing is realizing where your students are at, what your goal is. If your goal is more to understand the cultural aspects and things like that, then the English subtitles would work, especially if you're having a substitute, if you're not there to support them, if they don't have someone who speaks the language there. But if your goal is more the linguistic input and you're wanting them to understand the words and things, then I would have Spanish subtitles, but be prepared to pause a lot and be prepared to clarify meaning, maybe have readings over what happened, review, and reviewing again before you introduce the next portion, because once again, if the students get lost, then it just becomes nap time and they're not engaged and enjoying the show that maybe you're watching. One of the biggest benefits is just having a continuous a community building for the class. They get into these characters. It's something that can continue throughout the entire year. They talk between classes with each other about their shows and the things they're engaged in. And it can be something, if done well, is a way to engage your students with authentic input in Spanish. If make sure to check out the description for more links and resources on how to use a show, what shows I have found work best, as well as some different freebies and things for you to be able to use shows in your class. Thank you.